Everyone, and welcome to week 2 of English 110. I've had a few students who are unsure about what is due this week and how to complete the assignments, so this is just a brief video to give you some help with that. First, when you enter in the classroom, as always, quickly look at the announcements for every week. So here is the week 2 announcement. You'll see it as you enter in the classroom. Just go ahead and click on announcements and just click on read more and you'll get the weekly announcement. Now also this week you have the content, the week 2 content to read. Every week I want you to go through the entire content. Don't just hand in assignments. Don't just hand in what is due. Make sure to complete the reading as well. There's a purpose behind all the reading in this course. Not only do they help you understand the assignments, but they also help you meet the course objectives, which also will help you fully complete your degree and become more successful in your career. Because as we noted during the first week, most if not all careers involve some sort of writing. So this week, I'm just going to quickly click through most of the work. Now, of course, I want you to go through the week 2 readings, and let's go through those briefly. First, there is a reading on audience. Now, what this means by audience is when you approach a written work, consider who is reading your work. For example, I will be your audience for all of your written assignments in this course. Don't consider me an expert because I'm not an expert in everything. However, consider me to be a generally educated person. So you don't need to explain obvious things to me. You don't need to define obvious terms. And, honestly, if I get confused, I can just look up the term. But you need to define and explain technical jargon because obviously I'm not an expert in anything. In everything. I'm kind of an expert maybe in English, but not in everything. So make sure to define jargon that is related to your career in your written work. So that is what I mean by audience. And we kind of go through that in this week's forum, and I'm going to discuss that later, but you kind of change your method of writing depending on who is reading or experiencing your focus. So let's look at the next point, purpose. So we're going to go through that today with the first item that will be due for your portfolio, but you need to think about when you approach a writing assignment, what is the purpose? What is the point of the writing assignment? So for example, your final written essay is a persuasive essay. So you're not going to just inform me about a topic, you're going to persuade me to believe a point of view. And that would be the purpose. So when you approach a written assignment, make sure you fully understand what the point is with that assignment and what you are supposed to fully complete within that assignment as well. Point of view. Now, we talk about this in literature classes, but we also discuss this quite often in here. Now, I want you to avoid the following words this semester in your written work. Except for the first portfolio assignment. That is more personal. But for the rest of the assignments in here, I want you, and the annotations. Good thing this is not a professional video. But anyway, for the last 2 portfolio assignments, your proposal and your final written essay, you need to write this using an academic tone. So in your forums, you use first-person references like I, me, because you're referring to yourself, right? Sometimes when you're wanting to explain something to someone in particular, you will use words like you and your and yourself. However, when you write professional or academic essays or drafts or memos, you want to avoid first person. And I know it seems difficult to do because you are the one persuading, you are the one explaining something, but terms like I think or I feel or I believe actually weakens writing because of the lack of significant information. It sounds like you're being subjective. And honestly, when you are writing something, the reader knows that this is coming from you, that oftentimes you're explaining your perspective. You don't need to remind the reader of such. Second person means that you're directly calling out to the reader. Now, it could be a strength in that you're grasping or you're trying to connect fully with the reader, but it also means that you're limiting your audience, as this explains. For example, let's say you're talking about obesity, right? And you say something like, you need to make sure to avoid sugar and processed foods. What if your reader is not obese and your reader does already avoid sugar and processed foods? What you're saying then is not relevant to who your reader is. So what you need to do is make sure to avoid you and your. That way you're not calling out to the reader, and it also makes your writing seem less than professional. This is the type of writing I want you to use in here. I want you to use third person point of view. Of course, it lacks intimacy, but it is academic. So you must use third person in most, if not all, of your college courses at APUS. So that is basically what I want you to gather from this reading, but definitely read through it as well. All right, so let's look at tone. Tone, voice, and point of view all kind of work together. We discussed point of view, but we also need to discuss tone and voice. Now, obviously, you're not going to be writing texts in this course. Your tone can be more personable in the forums, but your tone needs to be academic in your essays for this course. So really, I want you to read through all of this to get a good idea of points of view, which is really related to tone and voice. But definitely read through this as well. All right. So this basically explains a little bit about academic writing, and it's rather lengthy, but it does help you understand the expectations for not only this course, but future courses in terms of what your expectations will be for your written assignments, how to approach an essay, and so on. You need to read through this because I can tell in written assignments when you haven't done the reading because you're not writing in an academic voice. This essay will help you do that. But also this week, I'm going to upload another video I made about how to write an essay, which should help you understand academic writing as well. All right. And so I think this is, okay, so when you're assigned a written assignment, this kind of gives you an idea of how to approach that particular assignment as well. All right. So now that we've gone through the readings this week, let's briefly go through some of, and these are just supplemental sources if you're interested, some of the information that is contained within the content area of the classroom. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this. I am assuming you're going to read all of this, but I do want to stop at one point in particular, the thesis statement. I really do want you to watch the video I'm going to upload, but out of all the sentences and out of all the components of your essay, the thesis statement is the most important sentence in your entire essay. I can't even highlight this enough for you. The thesis statement is the most important sentence in all of your essays in college. A thesis statement is usually located at the bottom of the opening paragraph. Now, I say usually because you might find an odd instructor or two who wants the thesis statement at the top of your introduction. I find that silly, but they may want it that way. It logically goes at the end of an opening paragraph because you start with a hook, then you move slowly. Think of a funnel, how you start like some sort of general topic, and then you specify, keeping it in a funnel shape all the way to the thesis statement. Oftentimes you want to start with a hook. You can start with a little case study. You can even start with the other side of the issue that you chose. And we'll go into that later. But the thesis statement, that final sentence of your opening paragraph, is an all-encompassing statement that contains your topic and your point about that topic. So let's look at these components of a good thesis statement. It's a single complete sentence, and that's really critical. You don't want to just upload a topic. You don't want to fragment. You've got to make that thesis statement error-free, and it's always a single complete sentence. Now, your thesis isn't necessarily a fact because you're going to be arguing something. So you don't want to say something like, the coronavirus is a serious illness. That's a fact. Of course it is. You could argue that although many agree that the coronavirus is a serious illness, some are concerned that the vaccine might cause irreparable damage. Now, I don't agree with that. I'm getting my vaccine, but that would be a good thesis statement. It is focused and specific, so you're not saying something like, sneakerheads like shoes. That's too general, right? Instead, you could say, many sneakerheads agree that the such and such shoe is a great shoe. However, the best shoe for everyone's needs would be blah. All right, would be the shoe. And I'm not a sneakerhead, so I don't know. Okay, so it's clear. Make sure that it's understandable, and it tells the reader the topic and what your stance will be on that topic. All right? So again, I want you to read through this. I want you to understand the points here, and I want you to know that a thesis statement is really, really important. All right? So the other information, you can go through it this week, is important as well, but the thesis statement is critical. All right, so let's look at what else is due this week. You have a citation quiz due, and so I really want you to make sure you take this. It's due on February 14th, or if you're watching this later, many of you will be, it's due at the end of week 2. And also you have a grammar quiz that is due at the end of week 2. Now, with the grammar quiz, there is some resources within the readings this week that will help you with the grammar. I am going to upload a citation quiz that will, I'm not going to upload the quiz. That would make life a lot easier for everyone, but no, I'm going to give you a citation video that will help you generally understand citations. The grammar quiz, I'm going to upload a video, but note that it is from the past Sakai course, but the information within it will help you understand and help you do well on this quiz. All right. Next, you have a discussion due. All right. There is a ton of words in this discussion. All right. So I'm going to try to give it to you briefly. First, find your area of focus for your degree. Second, click on schools and programs at APUS. So I'm going to have it, I already have it loaded. So here are some of the areas. So if you're majoring in music, you're from the School in Arts and Humanities. If you're majoring in sports management, you're from the School of Health Sciences. So locate your major field, then locate the school that is attached to that major field. Now, if you're not sure, go into general education. I am not going to be quizzing you about what your field is or what your field should be. I am just going to check to see if you answered the questions correctly or that your discussion forum post contains all of the necessary components. So first thing, and don't become too bogged down with picking a topic. I just want you to think about what your focus will be for this course. You can change your focus whenever you want. And to me, it doesn't necessarily have to be tied into your area of focus. Honestly, I'm just worried about how you approach a written assignment and how you write. So the topic to me is not that important. Now, when I respond, I might question how you will turn this into a persuasive essay, because remember, the focus is on persuading your reader to believe a certain point of view. But in terms of what your topic is, I don't really care. I just want you to choose something that interests you. Now, some of you are concerned about this one, describing some sort of thing from two perspectives. Again, don't become too bogged down with this. It's just basically for you to get some more writing practice in, but also to think of something where the tone changes. So you could do a sample email and a sample memo to a boss, an email to your friend, or you can think of an exchange between two people and how the focuses would change depending on their perspective. All right? And then obviously attach your post to the specific thread. When you respond, make sure you actually fully read the post of your classmate and then try to help your classmate. Don't just compliment, that's just annoying. Instead, offer something of substance to your reader, to your classmate. All right? So that's, and briefly, I'm not looking for a specific number of words, but I do want you to answer each one fully and put some time and effort into the discussions. Think of a face-to-face course. You know, the more you discuss and participate in a class, the more points you receive. The same with this course. If you fully participate, if you're fully engaged, you will receive full credit. All right, so finally, you have one little assignment left, and that is the report on the communication in my field of study. Now, it sounds really confusing, especially since there's so much words. It's very wordy, the assignment. So I'm going to try to bring it down to the bare minimum. Not the bare minimum, but what you need to really focus on. All right, so when it says discourse community, you need to think about how experts within your field talk to each other. Maybe you can discuss what sort of communities are, talk within this field, and I'm going to go into that a little bit, or what kind of rules are there, what kind of jargon is used. But since I don't know what discourse your community uses, I'm not going to take off points if you're wrong, or I'm not going to be picky here because I don't know all the discourses. So I just want you to answer this as to the best of your ability. So how did I learn about the discourse community? Well, you need to go to the research guides by program. All right, so let's click on this. And it's going to take a few moments to pull it up. But when you click on that link, you're going to see basically a lot of majors here. You find your major and you click on it. So let's say you're going to go into, well, a lot of you are in cybersecurity. So I'm going to click on cybersecurity. Here's the program's guide. Kind of just click through and figure out what sort of databases they're using, what sort of books, articles and journals, and pull up a few of them and figure out like what sort of writing style and what sort of language you see. Is it heightened? Does it have a lot of jargon? What sort of ways do they approach this topic? And also what's important is locate the kind of writing style, the format style you'll be using in that discourse community. All right, so let me bring it back. Hopefully. Oh, well. All right. Give me a moment. Oh, here's the portfolio. Good. Okay, so I'm back here. And basically this one then you're going to answer it by looking at the research guides. And then after you look at the research guide, what I want you to do is complete the portfolio. So basically you want to put your name here. So you can just basically cut and paste this, but the format for me doesn't matter. Just make sure you answer all the questions. So put your name, your program, locate the research guides, and then talk about what sort of information you found in that research guides. What I would like for you to do, I would like for you to answer each of these sections, and then again, it says you don't have to use complete sentences, but I do want you to answer it to your best of your ability. Then I want you to locate one of the areas here, and I want you to closely discuss it a little bit more. So what kind of topics did it discuss? Some of the images, were there any images? And so on and so forth. Now, from this, I want you to kind of discuss how one would communicate with each other in this field of subject. Now, for this section, again, I don't know how your field will be discussing information with each other. Basically, what I'm looking for is that you looked into this and that you are using complete grammar here, complete sentences, and proper grammar. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull up the sample. All right, so briefly, let's look at this. Name, focus, discussion of the research guides, and notice they're not complete sentences, they're just basically lists. And then I want you to look at one side and notice how it's in a complete sentence. You don't have to write that much, but I would like a full paragraph, so at least 5 sentences. And then note when you read this, think about how they wrote that particular database or article or whatever, and think back to what you learned earlier about tone and voice and audience. And that's basically what you're going to be discussing here. How they approach the writing, is there research, is it clear, and so on and so forth. So hopefully all this helped you this week. Again, as always, you can message me if you have any problems. Note always that I'm not looking for perfection. I just want you to try and do your best and do your own work. Please don't look at other websites in order for you to copy and paste previous work. You'll get caught. I will know it. Instead, you personally have the ability to do well in these assignments and do well in this class if you complete all of the readings and all of the work. You can do this, but email me if you have any questions or concerns. Take care and have a fabulous week.